Pardon me? You want to she can sit there until the jury comes in, and then I'll ask you all to call your next witness. It didn't once earlier, either yesterday, and it wasn't clear to the jury who was up there. So I'll make it clear on the record before we do.
Who's the president accounting for, Judge?
Thank you, Deputy Murphy. You all can be seated. Because we're getting a little unruly back there. It took a minute for Deputy Murphy to get you out into court. We can maintain decorum for just a few more days. Welcome back from lunch. We're going to continue with the defense case. While we were waiting for you guys, we actually had the witness start to come in, but Mr. Samuel, if you would, for the record, please call the defense's next witness.
Your Honor, our next witness is Annie Anderson.
If you will, raise your hand.
Yes, she is.
Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you should give the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes, ma'am. If you will, have a seat. Get as close to the mic as you can. For
Yes.
the purposes of the court's record, please state and spell your name.
Annie Anderson, A-N-N-I-E, A-N-D-E-R-S-O-N.
Ms. Anderson, where do you live? General neighborhood or city? You don't have to give a street address.
Norcross, Georgia.
And what is your profession?
I am a massage therapist and wellness coach, which involves a list of other things. Posture, orthopedic massage.
I'm going to ask you some specifics about those as time goes on here. Where are you married?
Yes.
Is your husband in the courtroom here?
Yes, he is.
Point him out. There we go. And you have children?
Yes. I have 2 stepchildren.
Tell the jury, if you would, a little bit about your educational background. Not a little bit, all of it.
In 2003, I graduated from the Atlanta School. Can I turn my chair a little?
You can do anything that makes you comfortable, but if people don't hear you, there's no reason for you to be here. So make sure the microphone...
Oh, I didn't know it moved.
It doesn't.
Oh.
It moves a little bit, but it doesn't.
In 2003, I graduated from the Atlanta School of Massage with a neuromuscular degree and also had special training in infant massage and prenatal care and massage. In the past 15 years, I've continued my education as an orthopedic massage therapist. I'm Red Cord certified for Pilates, which is a version of neurac therapy, which deals with training the brainstem and the body to work together in proper form. I also do doula servicing, which is basically like a version of pelvic floor physical therapy at Northside Hospital and occasionally at the Women's Center downtown, assisting in over 150 deliveries over the years, sometimes with multiple mothers, and just allows the baby to come out a lot easier and a lot more safely.
And did you grow up in the Atlanta area?
No, I grew up in downtown Chicago.
When did you come to Atlanta?
In end of 2001,
You've
2002.
Been here ever since?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when did you get married?
In 2013.
I want you to be a little more specific. You told us about your kind of education training. Can you tell us the specific types of massages and fill in the blanks, the other things that you do for your customers, where your customers come from? Just kind of give us a good overview of your business practice.
Yes. So in 2013, I graduated and went to work at the Concourse Athletic Club, doing a lot of sports massage and orthopedic massage and things like that. And after that, moved on to the Ravinia Health Club and Spa. It was just a little bit better scenario for the type of clients, and just condensing where I was going to be. And then after that, I started my own practice. I wanted to be able to integrate more types of therapy that allowed me to not just do a massage, but to create complete balance and have the time to do the stretching and to really assess people's posture properly with software and just make it a much more articulate practice. So started on my own, which I still am. And I'm sorry, your question was a little...
You're doing fine. You're doing fine. Where do you no longer work at a specific club or a video or anything like that?
No. So over those years, my modalities continue to increase as they do every day. When a family is able to trust you from geriatrics to pediatrics to deliver the appropriate care, things from migraine therapy, doing cognitive brain tissue therapy, which is a very subtle trigger point massage to the head, can just allow a lot of healing and rebalancing to all the nerves and muscles that connect through the jaw. So there really isn't a type of massage that I don't do, but I primarily focus on the orthopedic massage, the rebalancing kind of structural work, more or less, and then being able to put that together with stretch routines and programs for people. And with the infant massage, that's kind of where the training with polarity came from. So it's a very slight jostle, and it allows the neuromuscular system and the brainstem to relax and create an environment that can receive then tissue therapy, muscle lengthening, things like that.
Where do your customers come from? I asked you, you're no longer with a specific club, correct?
No, all the years ever since I left, quite honestly, it's been completely word of mouth. I do no form of advertising. I'm not even on Facebook. My husband is my Facebook secretary for all of my family members because it's a million pictures to keep up with. But that's all been word of mouth, and other than my private practice, I also am a boutique wellness consultant for some families in the Buckhead area. So I'll perform their services.
You go to people's homes?
Yes. Well, there's 4, yes.
Excuse me?
There's 4 homes. It's the entire family. So
Okay.
when I work with an entire family, they want me to be available for a variety of things throughout the week. It could be their kid gets injured on the soccer field, and a sprain can be handled by me at their home instead of them having to go to an urgent care and do all kinds of things like that. And obviously, if it's something more severe, I know a lot of amazing professionals that they can be referred to quickly and whatnot.
Do you also do something involving people's posture? Which
Yes.
I probably need, certainly by the end of this trial. What is that you do?
Yes. Being a posture rebalancing therapist, focusing on true posture, sometimes it has an issue from the ground up, and sometimes it has a structural issue because of the way people sit during the day. When they get up, they can't align themselves because things have just settled into a crooked form. And so working with that, it's extremely beneficial when you see someone's gait open up. I always tease with my husband that it's very difficult to drive down Peachtree and see a runner because I go, oh my gosh, they have horrible neck pain or whatever, just based on what I see happening, just constant body reading all the time.
And what is Pilates? Spell it for the cold quarter, if you would.
Pilates.
What is Pilates?
So a man by the last name of Pilates invented this, and he focused on your true core, really starting mid-thigh and going all the way up into the lower part of your rib cage where your diaphragm sits, which is kind of an umbrella muscle that controls your breath, and it allows pressure to come on and off of your lungs and allows them to expand. The diaphragm, the breathing, hollowing your core, and then flattening your core, putting kind of an abdominal wall to support your low back and level your pelvis. It's helpful for many things, from the neck all the way into the pelvic area of inner hips and things like that. So it can really help with basically anything that could be wrong with you. If you can do Pilates properly, it balances out your true core. And so you're able to have a great coil in your golf swing, you're able to deliver a baby beautifully, you're able to basically do anything, because then you know you're truly balanced, because there's In Pilates, they have a reformer machine, which is an expensive piece of equipment where different parts of the table disconnect and they slide and glide on these rails. They have trampolines built into the bottom of them. There is a Pilates circle, which you can use in between your knees and between your arms to create that diaphragm contraction, the abdominal contraction, and increase talking to deeper muscles than a normal sit-up or a crunch or anything like that would do. It just kind of makes your body tell the truth about what's really going on with you.
Ms. Anderson, do you know Claude Tex McIver?
Yes.
Okay. So you know the courtroom? I don't know if you can see from where you are, but...
Yes.
Okay. And do you know Diane McIver?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know Austin Schwab?
Yes.
Tell me, when did you first meet the McIvers? If one as opposed to the other, difference in time, when did you meet Tex and Diane or Diane McIver?
So I met them through a friend of... Do you want the time? I'm sorry.
Sure.
So,
I don't mean like what hour of the day, but yeah, what year?
yes. So I met them about 13 years ago. Like I said, I had a very full primary practice when I left the Ravinia Club and Spa, which actually had closed. So they just decided not to renew their lease at the Ravinia. So many of the clients and things like that, even though I had left prior to them closing and starting my own company, they ended up coming over and it kind of flooded me a little bit. I have two families that I've known longer than the Macgyvers that I'm on a weekly retainer with. And so when my best friend called me at the time, she said, "You've just got to meet this couple. They're looking for in-home massage." And I said, "I'm really not looking for another home client." And she said, "Well," and she went on a slew of reasons why I just had to meet them. And so I agreed to go one time and meet with them. And
When was that?
that was 13 years ago.
2005?
Yes.
And where did you go? What was it, the condo in Buckhead?
Yes.
Okay. And so over the next 13 years, did you maintain a business relationship with them?
I did.
Okay. Did you provide massages to both Tex and Diane McIver?
Yes.
Did you do other
Therapies?
Pilates and therapies and things like that?
Yes. Over the years, Diane had a wealth that she probably treasured more than anything on earth other than the beautiful family that she loved, and that was her health and wellness. She was articulate about it, and she wanted everyone around her to be the healthiest, most agile people. So she was one of the greatest people to ever work with because she had no limit on what she would try or what she would try to rebalance or strengthen or empower her body or anyone else's body to do. And so we went through a million modalities over the years, and we had been working a lot on Pilates.
Did you ever have a romantic relationship with Tex McIver?
Never.
Did you ever perform a massage on him any time in the months following the death of his wife, Diane, which he was naked?
1,000% never.
Did you ever touch him sexually?
Never.
Did he ever touch you sexually?
Never.
Are you aware that the prosecution in this case has
Well,
suggested
objection,
otherwise?
Judge. That's them commenting.
Yeah, different question.
Yeah.
Have you been approached by people in the community about what they've heard about
Objection,
the trial?
Judge.
Your Honor, they have spent
But
day after
objection,
day.
I object to the speaking objection in front of the jury.
Well, he's responding to your objection, but you're free to argue when it's time to argue what you think the state has done, but to characterize it in the form of a question to this witness, I don't think is appropriate.
I think the effect it has had on her, the effect it's had on her family,
Which is relevant to what the jury needs to decide in what way.
her credibility here today. Her credibility,
One, that's a good challenge, and two, maybe you're going to get into some other area that's relevant to what the jury needs to decide such that her credibility would be an issue?
The state has made issues.
Objection, Judge. Again.
The state has,
Just let him, I'll cut him off.
Okay.
It needs to be cut
the
off.
state introduced numerous witnesses that this witness was in the bedroom the night after Diane Macgyver died, went to the ranch, wore the boots.
Okay.
And now I can't ask any questions about the effect that those kinds of allegations have had on her and her family.
Correct. You cannot. Not for this trial.
I don't want you to mince words with me. I don't want this to be like a Bill Clinton type of question and answer. Did you ever at any time, and I'm talking about any time before Diane Macgyver's death or after her death, either before September 2016, after September 2016, engage in any sexual conduct, however you want to define it, with Tex McIver?
Never.
Does that include in his conduct?
Yes.
Objection, Judge. She said never. We don't have to go down the long list.
Oh, come on. Mr.
I'll give you 3. That one.
I've got more to go.
Okay. So not in the condo.
I'll do it later. When Mr. McIver received a massage, is that the right verb, received? Had a massage, received a massage. Did he ever fall asleep on the massage table?
Almost every time.
When he was asleep, did you notice anything about any unusual behavior?
Yes.
Tell the jury that.
He would have conversations in his sleep, and then depending on what he was saying, he would act things out, or he might just be quiet and all of a sudden flare an arm or kind of a punch or something like that, and I would have to get out of the way if I was close to his body in any way.
By the way, you were interviewed by the prosecutors in this case. I don't know how many of them. About a year ago, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You were, I think you were in a restaurant or something?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that they were taping the interview?
No, sir.
During the course of that interview, did you tell them exactly what you told this jury, that when he was sleeping, he would flail and punch?
Yes, sir.
That was a year ago when you told them that.
Yes, sir.
Did you give massages to Diane Macgyver?
Yes, sir.
Do you charge for your services?
Yes.
How much do you charge?
$100 an hour.
Is that a consistent rate that you charged Diane Macgyver?
Yes, she paid for the massages.
Tex McIver?
He never paid.
You charged him $100?
Diane paid for both.
She paid for both?
Yes.
I was asking about charging. You charged her, you charged him, you charged your other customers?
Yes.
They all get charged $100 an hour.
Yes, sir.
That's your rate.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever provide free services to Tex McIver in exchange for anything inappropriate?
Never.
You ever ask you to do anything inappropriate?
Never.
Did you do massages at the condo in Buckhead?
Yes.
For Diane?
Yes.
For Tex?
Yes.
Have you been to the ranch?
Yes.
How often have you been to the ranch?
Since I met my husband and got married, a lot less. We would go out there as a family, but prior to that I spent quite a bit of time there because when Austin was born, I was with him basically the first week and a half to 2 weeks after he was born, taking care of him, and became his Aunt Annie.
You were referred to as Aunt Annie by Austin?
Yes.
Okay. And did you go out to the ranch fairly often?
Yes.
Okay. And did you do massages out there?
Not normally.
So my next question, did you sometimes go to the ranch not for the purpose of giving a massage?
It was really more family time, time with horses, time with Austin and his little brother, or his older brother, I'm sorry. And after I got married, Tex and Diane had given some speeches at my wedding and sat with my parents. And after the wedding, they gave me what they call a family moon, which my in-laws had driven in because they can't fly. My mother-in-law has passed on, unfortunately, but they were able to stay here for 4 days. And they gave us the ranch so that my in-laws could spend some quality time with us and be able to just be with me and my 2 stepchildren for some quality time. And the immediate day after the wedding, my entire family, 12 brothers and sisters, except for one did not make it in, and my parents, my mom, my stepdad, my dad, and my stepmom, and my best friend Carrie that had introduced me to the McIvers. We all were at the ranch for an entire day, and then they left.
And you call it a family moon, that's like a honeymoon, but for family.
We waited about a year to take an actual honeymoon.
Tell me what your husband's occupation is.
He is a corrective exercise specialist.
Slow down and say it again so the court reporter can understand and everybody else can understand.
He is a corrective exercise specialist.
What does that mean?
So basically, it's kind of the way Pilates sounds to kind of synopsisize it, but he has special software and degrees that help him to reorder sorry to say order again, but the order in which your muscles fire. So if someone has too much activity in their glute, then they could have weakness in their quad, which is the front of their thigh, or their abs. They could carry their body differently if they have kind of a bossy muscle. So he has special software and special ways of assessing what people's culprit of their imbalances or issues are. He's also a Titleist performance enhancement specialist. So he does not...
Let me kind of break things down. Let me ask questions every once in a while.
I'm sorry.
Is the Titleist referring to the golf company?
Yes.
Okay, so say it again.
And so as a Titleist performance enhancement specialist, he goes through a special training to use video software to find out which muscles, similar to the corrective exercise specialist, are making your swing not be as smooth or as powerful or whatnot as it could be. So he doesn't teach you how to golf, but he teaches you exercises that will make your golf clubs be able to do their job, 4 feet away from you, depending on how long the club is and what type of club you're using. And it really helps you to not wear out your low back by the end of the day when you're golfing if you're using the right muscles. So his exercises he gives you are not to be done on the golf course. They're meant to be done in a corrective exercise situation.
Time for another question.
Yeah. You got to break every once in a while. Give me a chance.
Sorry.
Does Tex McIver, for lack of a better word, work out with your husband?
Yes,
Does he go train with him or exercise with him, or whatever the correct verb is there?
at his facility, yes.
How often?
2 to 3 times a week, depending on his work schedule.
Okay. And does Mr. McIver pay for the services your husband renders?
Yes, he pays my husband.
Okay. It's basically some kind of exercise regimen, correct? Like a trainer.
Yes.
You know what he charges for his services on an hourly or per session basis?
I believe that it averages about $70 an hour per se.
And where is your husband's facility located?
It's in Sandy Springs.
Did you also do massages for other people who worked at Courtroom?
One other person,
Who was that?
Richard Harrell.
Harold, Harrell?
I don't know how to spell his last name, I'm sorry.
And how long were you doing massages for him? Just a period of time, years, months, twice?
Well, Diane had purchased them for him as a gift for his birthday.
Okay.
And so that's one, why I don't know how to spell his last name, because I never saw his last name. And 2, it was shortly before she died that she had bought him a package.
Got it, okay. What about Billy Court? Did you do massages for him?
No.
Okay. Do you know who you did?
Yes, my best friend Carrie.
Okay. And where does Carrie live?
in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay. Where was she living at the time, in 2016?
In Charleston, South Carolina, but she was in town visiting, and she was,
But she's your best friend? Was or is?
over the years, yeah.
Did you ever receive an advance on future services to perform massages?
So Diane would always buy a package of 4 at a time, and that would cover her for about a month unless they traveled. So, but other than that, shortly before she passed, early in September, I had gone to do the massages one night, and when I went into the kitchen at the end, she had written an advance check for me to accomplish something in my life that she wanted me to do, and wouldn't take no for an answer. But it wasn't quote unquote a loan, like you said, it was an advance.
Okay. So it was larger than the $100 you generally pay, $100 you would generally charge, or $400 for a package. How much was it?
Normally her checks were $1,200, and this check was for $5,000.
Okay, so $1,200 would be
For 4 nights of 3 hours of massage.
Okay.
So $5,000. It could have been broken up
okay.
over time. It just depended on, if I I did Austin's posture therapy, but I don't charge for Austin.
Okay. Even for the child, you said you did geriatrics too. Well,
Pediatrics.
Pediatrics, children. Right. I wouldn't know. You'll have to judge. Did you ever send emails or text messages to Tex McIver?
No, I, in general, would get every couple of months a email that was a group email to he and I, a best friend of his, Jim Hickey, who he's kind of a surrogate father to, that I'm very close with, and he would send us a joke in an email, and nobody necessarily responded, but.
Okay. How about with Diane McIver? Did you exchange texts or emails with her?
Primarily text messages, and we might text message every day or every other day or every 3 days, just depending on her schedule.
I'm going to show you a collective exhibit which has been marked and shown to the prosecutor, and I believe that the admitted without objection is marked D19. Can you identify what D19 is?
Yes, they are. The text messages between Diane McIver and I beginning August 14th and ending on the evening of September 25th at 9:36 p.m.
And are these screenshots that you took from your phone? Well, rather than leading you, what are they?
So they are screenshots of the text messages, because if you hit select and then you mark them and you try to forward them to, for instance, an email address, they turn into one long blob. The timestamps, the emojis, all those things would just disappear. So I screenshotted each of them so that they could be properly shown.
Okay. And do those, Your Honor, I'm going to tender D19.
Any objection to defense 19?
No, sir.
Submitted.
Does D19 reflect all the communications you had with Diane McIver between the August date and the last day before she died?
The text messages, but it wouldn't have phone calls or emails for conversation.
Okay, I think what I asked you was, are those all the text messages?
Oh, I thought you said, are those just, yeah, I assume that they are, unless they're out of date.
Okay. And you also had phone calls during that time?
Yes.
And these text messages, we're not going to go through them today, but they all basically deal with scheduling, correct?
Primarily in Austin's birthday party. She wanted to know some things about Austin's birthday party, and if, my daughter could bring a friend and things like that.
When was the last time you, well, first of all, had a text communication with Diane McIver?
When's the first time?
Last.
Oh, the night of September 25th at 9:36 p.m. when she was driving back.
And what was the communication about?
So we all know how she was about schedules.
We
And
don't necessarily, but what was the communication here?
on September 25th at 9:36 p.m., I said, sorry.
It's okay?
Hey, Mama Di, I hope you had an awesome weekend. I wanted to confirm you for tomorrow morning around 7:30, ? Love, Annie.
So Mama Di is the nickname you had for Diane?
It's because my daughter considers her her godmother.
And so you wrote that Sunday at 9:30 p.m.?
9:36.
9:36 p.m. on Sunday night, arranging to meet with her the next morning, presumably in Buckner, correct?
Yes.
And just so the record shows, these will be in the record, and I don't want you to sit here counting, but approximately how many screenshots are there in that package I gave you as part of D19? How often would you have these text messages over the course of just that 1 month that you've got there?
I don't know, 2 or 3 messages back and forth almost every day or every other day.
You were very close to Diane?
Yes, sir. Can I say something? When she loved the word absolutely, and when she texted me back absolutely, I just was super happy because I knew that we had worked so hard on her Pilates golf game, and she saying absolutely meant she was happy with the first time she had been golfing since we started her Pilates therapy. And just when I received absolutely, it was a special moment because we had worked really hard for the past 2.5 months.
Other than the text messages, how about the last phone calls you had with Diane?
I don't know if I remember our phone calls. She was very busy. It wasn't always easy to get her on the phone, and text messages was the fastest way to have a conversation with her.
Do you remember when you learned that she had suffered a gunshot injury or that she had died?
I did not know that she had been shot. I found out that morning that she had passed.
That would be the morning of the 26th, Monday?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember who informed you?
Yes. Carrie Hicks called me.
Carrie is the masseuse that you were best friends with?
Yes, sir.
And was she in town that weekend?
She was.
Where was she residing when she was in town?
Well, that weekend she had stayed in a condo, 1402, below the 1502 condo of Tex and Diane Macgyver. So 1501 is both sides, their bedroom was on. 1502 was kind of the group side, and 1402 is below that unit.
Who owned 1402, do you know?
Who owned it?
Yeah.
I believe Billy Corey.
So she was staying in Billy Corey's condo, or the one that he maintained in the same building?
I believe so.
Okay. And she called you and informed you that Diane had passed, is that correct?
Yes. She was hysterical, so.
Can you give us a rough time frame when that happened?
Well, I woke up to get down there by 7:30, and just as I was getting dressed, I got a text message. Is that okay?
So it was the morning?
Well, yes, but the text message wasn't from her. So Tex sent me a text message.
Okay.
And it said, we need to cancel everything. And I thought that something had happened to honestly someone, because for Diane not to call me was very unusual. Then, right after that, I see Carrie's number come up on my phone, and I just thought for sure that something had happened to Billy. And she was wailing uncontrollably and crying, and I couldn't understand what she was saying. And it seems like forever for me to get her to calm down and just tell me what had happened to who. because I couldn't understand her.
Did you end up going somewhere that morning?
Yes, so,
And
sorry,
where did you go?
I went down to the condo.
And how did you get there?
1501. She drove out to Norcross to pick me up because I could not drive.
She is,
Carrie.
why couldn't you drive?
Well, when she finally spit it out that Mama Di had died, which is what Mama Di died, did not ever sound like a whole person to me. I started throwing up and kind of said some swear words before I threw up and dropped the phone. And when I got back to it, she wasn't on it anymore. And I called my husband and was freaking out. And then he said he was going to come home and get me. And we'd figure out what to do next. And Carrie called me back and said, you have to come down here, you have to come down here, this is so horrible. And I said, I'll just wait for my husband to come. And she's like, no, I'm already on the road, I'm on Peachtree Industrial, I'm driving up to get you.
Okay. So she picked you up,
Yes,
drove to the condo?
yes.
When you got to the condo, can you give us a ballpark of what time that was?
I would say it's somewhere between 7:30 and maybe 8 o'clock at the latest.
Morning.
Yes.
Can you remember who was there when you arrived? This
Dee?
is Monday the 26th.
Yes.
Can you tell us who was there when you arrived?
Tex Nana was what I call Phyllis. She's,
Phyllis Gable,
yes, she's known as Nana, so,
housekeeper.
yes.
Okay.
To Austin, she's kind of his grandmother. And Danny Joe.
And who?
And Danny Joe.
Okay. And did other people arrive that morning?
Yes.
Who?
Neighbors, who started getting word. I believe one of the neighbors is a good workout friend of Diane's and friend. I don't mean to just say workout friend, but Rosalind would work out with her many mornings down in the treadmill room of the condo building. And Janie Calhoun. I don't know, there was a lot of people coming and going.
Do you know anybody named Rachel?
Yes, I'm sorry, Rachel Stiles. was
Rachel
there.
Stiles was there.
Yes.
Do you know approximately what time she came?
Shortly after me, because,
And how do you know her? Did you know her before this?
oh yes,
How did you know her?
I knew her to help Diane with various things and be a close friend of the family. I met her at the ranch. She had consulted on flowers and things like that, and at the condo, she would come to the condo and help with the plants and things like that there.
So you saw her on a fairly regular basis?
If she happened to come on the same day that I was doing massages,
Did you know whether she had any medical training at all?
yes, she was a nurse.
Huh?
She had been a nurse.
Did a doctor ever arrive?
Yes, Ken Hughes.
Spell the last name if you know how.
Hughes, I'm not sure.
Sounds like that anyway.
Sounds
Phonetically.
like that, yeah.
All right. So how many people are in the room and, you know, were you mid-morning by now, or 10, 11, when the doctor, Rachel, and Phyllis are all there?
Right, and Carrie also was there with me, just.
Carrie, the other masseuse.
Yes.
Okay. Did Dr., I think it's Hoos, if you
Sorry.
don't mind me correcting you a little bit, without getting into the content of what he said, did he say something that led you and or Rachel Stiles or anybody else to engage in certain behavior while you were there? That's a very obtuse way of asking a question. What did you do based on what Dr. Hoos said?
We knew that we needed to watch out for Tex because he had had an anxiety attack or whatever kind of attack at the hospital. He was wearing a bracelet on his wrist, and Dr. Hoos was, prescribing whatever medication he was going to need to take to Rachel, and I was standing there as well.
To Rachel?
For Rachel to help distribute.
Okay.
to Tex, I'm sorry.
Okay, so, go ahead, say it again so it's clear.
So Ken was talking about.
Ken,
Hughes,
doctor.
yes, was talking about the medication that he wanted to see Tex take periodically or as needed or on a regular basis. It just depended.
And Rachel's role was
To assist with that,
because,
she was a nurse.
okay. And so based on what Dr. Who's told you and Rachel, what did you do over the next hours, days?
Monitor Tex.
Did you let him drive anywhere by himself?
No,
Did you let him go anywhere by himself?
no,
Did you let him even go into a room by himself?
only the bathroom.
Were you aware of what drugs he was taking at that point in time?
I don't know the exact names, but I knew what each one looked like, and Rachel had discussed them with me so that if I needed to help administer his medication, that I would know what I was looking at or doing. Because they were not in a bottle. She had them kind of in a little envelope that I would be able to see.
Were you and Rachel Stiles concerned about Tex McIver's well-being?
In many ways,
Were you concerned about his safety?
yes.
What did you and Rachel Stiles decide to do at nighttime?
Well, she sleeps with a CPAP machine.
Who's she?
Rachel Stiles, I'm sorry.
What's a CPAP machine?
It is a air defibrillator that helps people to get the proper amount of oxygen when they sleep. And she also at the time kind of had a bronchial cough, and that was in itself loud, but the CPAP machine was much louder. And once you put this kind of gas mask looking thing across, it helps you to sleep a lot deeper if you're not used to getting, or your body can't naturally get its own amount of oxygen. So you're kind of down for the night once you hook yourself up to a CPAP machine. So I was going to take care of him overnight.
How?
Just monitor him and make sure that if he got up to go to the bathroom that he did not fall or that he in no way was harmful to himself, just because we honestly weren't sure what state of mind he had.
Okay. Well, without getting a blueprint of the condo, where is Rachel vis-a-vis where Tex McIver is sitting?
So the bedroom door, she's approximately 5 to 8 feet on a couch in a little living room space, and then Carrie was sleeping on the floor between the couch and the bedroom door.
And what about you?
And I sat on 2 king-size pillows on the floor next to Diane's side of the bed, and
Where's the bed?
in the bedroom.
You sat on the floor on pillows?
Yes, with my back up against a mirrored wall.
Okay.
Occasionally, I try to lay down for a second on the pillows, but it was a small pallet.
And where was Tex McIver?
On his side of the bed, which was obviously the opposite side of the bed.
Did you get into the bed?
Never.
Did you, does this count as number 2 you're on? Did you,
I'm keeping track.
huh?
So I'm keeping track.
Did you have sexual relations with Tex McIver that night in the bed?
1000% never.
Did you touch him that night?
No. Can I clarify something?
Absolutely.
Just answer the questions.
Did you need to clarify something? A question that I've asked already?
She just said 1,000% no. I don't know.
Maybe it was another question.
No, the last question that you asked, that if I ever touched him when he was sleeping, like, yes. So I'm just trying to clarify.
Okay.
Can I say?
Absolutely.
So I created on his side of the bed when he went to sleep kind of a zero gravity portion of him laying. He was very swollen in his sinuses. His eyes were puffy. They were very red and obviously from crying. And so I had a cold, it's made of flaxseed. It's like a little pillow that goes over your eyes. It has a heavy weight to it for the compression. And then he had a hot that you warm up in the microwave, kind of like a neck pillow that weighs about 8 pounds on his chest, because with the anxiety he was having some trouble catching his breath sometimes, and it was just helping to keep his chest relaxed. And his feet and his legs had pillows underneath them to create like a zero gravity for his lymphatic drainage. It allowed the blood to be kind of circulating more naturally in his body in that zero gravity. And so, you know, and he had a lot of nightmares. And so if he had a nightmare, I would do the polarity rocking that I talked about for a second or two and just kind of jostle him to try to keep him asleep.
Did he ever take his clothes off?
No,
Did you ever take your clothes off?
no.
So this is Monday night?
Yes.
How many more days did you stay there?
I stayed at the condo until Friday.
Did your husband come?
Yes, my husband and daughter.
Did your husband spend the night there?
Yes, on Thursday night.
And your daughter?
Yes.
On any of the nights that you were there, excuse me, any of the days or nights that you were there, did you in fact do a massage for Tex McIver?
No.
Did you see, you mentioned it, but let me come back to Danny Joe there during the course of the next 3 or 4 days? Did you see Danny Joe at the apartment, at the condo?
Yes.
Right? And did she tell you anything about what happened on the night of September 25th?
Yes.
What did you hear her saying?
Well, when I got there that morning,
Is she about to say Danny Joseph?
Absolutely.
Well,
That's what the question was, what did you hear her say?
right, so I object.
It's a prior inconsistent statement, just like we've already developed with other witnesses, including Mr. Hansen.
You believe that what's about to be spoken is a prior inconsistent statement?
What she's about to say will be, that's correct.
Okay. You have a good faith basis to believe that?
Well, absolutely. We've all been in the courtroom together. We know what Danny Joe said. We know what Mr. Hansen
Well,
said.
you may know what Ms. Anderson's going to say. I don't. That's my question. You believe that she's going to say something that would constitute a prior inconsistent statement to Ms. Carter?
That's right.
Okay. That's all I'm asking.
What did you hear Danny Joe Carter say?
so when I got to the condo that morning,
I want you to listen carefully to my question. I don't
I'm
mean to
sorry.
interrupt.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to hear getting to the apartment in the morning. Right now, I just want you to listen to my question.
Okay.
So we don't have an evidence problem.
Okay.
Did you hear Danny Joe say
Yes.
what happened Sunday night, the 25th?
Yes.
What was it that she said happened?
She was sitting in a chair, hysterically crying.
Please listen.
I'm sorry.
What did she say?
She said that they had had an amazing weekend and named all kinds of details about the amazing weekend. And then she said that they were driving into the downtown connector after being at Longhorn, and that the traffic was a parking lot, and that she decided to get off the highway. Well, she and Diane, I don't know who exactly decided to get off the highway, but they decided to get off the highway. And as they got down to the bottom of the ramp, Tex woke up and started telling them that this was a bad idea, ladies, this is a bad idea.
I want you to move forward.
Stop for a second, Mr.
Yeah,
Rucker.
I was just about to
see
say-
behind you. He stood up.
Yeah, I was waiting for the inconsistent part, but you're saying we're going to get there.
I'm going to get
Okay,
Okay.
I want to move forward a little bit. I need a little bit to get us to the...
Please.
We're now going to go north on Piedmont. Okay?
Okay.
And I want you to tell what Danny Joe said, if anything, that she heard Diane say.
So Diane was yelling at Tex because he had been sleeping, and she was saying, when you get home, you're not going to be able to sleep. You're going to be up all night. You need to stay awake so you can go to sleep.
And that was Danny Joe telling you on whatever Monday what she heard on Sunday, correct?
Yes.
All right, I want to move forward to Wednesday, the 28th. Did you end up in the Atlanta Police Department on the 28th?
Yes.
I want you to tell the jury the circumstances that led you to be at the police station on the 28th.
I had driven Tex McIver to his attorney's office in Decatur
Why did you drive?
because he's not allowed to drive.
Because what?
He's not allowed to drive on his medication.
Okay. So where did you drive to? Where did you drive into?
To Steve Maple's office,
Which is in,
Decatur.
okay. And then in Decatur, what did you do? At the law office, what did you do?
I sat in the lobby and stepped out into the hall and called my stepmom and talked to her for a little while.
Okay. And then, so we kind of follow the itinerary for a while. Where do you all end up next, and who goes in whose car?
So when they got done with their meeting, Tex and his attorneys, Steve Maples and I don't know the other man's name,
Okay.
or if it was an actual attorney of his, but they drove in a car to the police station and they asked me to follow them there and then drive Tex back to the condo afterwards because they were going to be going somewhere else after they got done at the police department.
Okay. So there's two cars going to the police station from Decatur.
Yes.
You were by yourself?
I drove to the police station by myself.
And then Mr. MacGyver, Steve Maple, and the other lawyer, the other person, drive their car to the Atlanta police station.
Yes.
And it's downtown Atlanta, is that right?
Yes.
When you get to the police station in downtown Atlanta, what do you do?
We parked in the same parking lot because I tried to follow them and went in, and Detective Smith was standing right on the other side of the metal detectors and walked us up to another area, and then they went into a room and had a meeting and I was in a different room.
How long did you stay in that other room? Give or take an hour.
Probably about that. I don't think it was a really long time.
And then what happens?
And then I drove Tex McIver back to the condo.
You spend the night again?
Yes.
Any sexual relations with Tex McIver that day?
No, Austin Schwall had spent the night Tuesday and Wednesday evening, and he slept in bed with Tex. And
The child.
yes,
So later that week, and your husband is there what night?
Thursday night, so our night of visitation with my stepdaughter.
And so what happens on Friday?
On Friday, we got up early, and he needed to go out and see Javier and tell him what had happened, because thus far, I think I was the only person who had talked to Javier.
Who's Javier?
He runs the ranch for the Macgyver family, and he lives on the property out there.
So did you go to the ranch
Yes,
with Tex?
yes,
Who drove?
I did.
Okay. Why did you have to drive?
As Tex can't drive on his medication.
When did you arrive at the ranch?
That morning, probably a little before, between 9 and 10.
You said a little while ago when we began that you've been to the ranch before, many times?
Yes,
Did you often walk through the pastures and the fields out there?
yes, we called it walking the fence. We would check the fence line to make sure there was no break in it so the cattle couldn't get out.
Do you wear any kind of special clothes when you're walking the fence line or walking through the fields or the pastures?
Yes, we wear boots.
And do you have your own boots
Yes, I have 2 pairs of boots.
that are kept at the ranch?
Yes.
Where did you get the boots?
One pair is my first pair of cowboy boots. It's a 17, 18-year-old pair of black snakeskin. And then the other pair is a gift that Diane had given me, and she had also given my daughter almost identical pair. They're made of rubber, so we can quickly hose off cow poop or fire ant stuff or horse manure. And my daughter wears a size 12, and I wear a size 10 and a half. So we had larger sizes than were normally kept at the ranch.
Do they keep a lot of boots at the ranch?
Yes.
I don't need it, but is there a picture now? Yes. So there was as I recall, a shed that had just boots lined up, is that correct?
No, it's in the garage. There's 2 shelves, maybe 3 shelves, and it's lined with perfectly lined up boots because Diane's very grateful when people come out to spend time at the ranch, and she wants them to feel welcome and to feel like they're not going to mess up all their stuff enjoying the pastures and the horses.
And were your boots kept there?
Yes.
On the same racks where everybody else's boots were kept?
Yes.
Boots for guests, boots of your own, boots of the Macgyvers?
Yes, it was a communal boot wall. I mean, if you needed a pair of boots and you fit the size, have at it. She just wanted you to go laugh at the cows and walk through cow poop and mud.
Are these boots that are made? That are famous walking? Made. That's what I was thinking. They just be our generation. I'm not sure. These boots are made for walking, right? But they're made for walking in poop, right?
Yes.
Okay. These are not.
And mud.
And mud. There we go. Thank you. I'm looking at the screen next to you with D11. Does that look like the boot wall?
Yes, it is.
These are all the boots up here. All these are the boots that people would wear who walked in the poop.
Yes, and my snakeskin ones are actually not in the picture. They got cut out. It's not very nice to them, but they're on the floor right below.
Here somewhere.
Yeah, these are Austin's. Mine are down here.
These are Austin's here?
Yes, and then these are all of the rubber boots that she just fell in love with these rubber boots. She thought they were the greatest invention of all time for a ranch.
And what size boots do you wear?
A 10.5.
And what size boots did Diane wear?
A 7.5. You know, we can all go by a half size, but
Can you fit into her boots?
no.
And you say your daughter wore 12.5?
She wears a size 12, but you know,
Is
that can depend on
Is that
the
adult
width.
12 or kid 12?
That's an adult 12.
Bigger than you.
A men's 10.5 is her size.
Can she wear boots? Can she wear Diane's boots?
No.
Were you wearing her boots that day, that Friday or Saturday when you were at it?
No, sir.
Did you have sexual relations with Tex McIver at the ranch that week?
1,000% no.
Since that time, have you had sexual relations?
Well, Judge, I think now he's way past the race. And so she said never. Let me finish my objection. She just said never, 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 ever, 1,000% never. I think the point has been made, and so I object.
The state knew the answer was going to be never, and still put on the evidence.
So stop. You can argue to the jury when it's argument time, your reflections on what you think the state tried to do through answers that were given by witnesses about boots or massages or this or that. But this isn't, don't do that anymore. And I believe that the topic of whether or not this witness had sexual relations, as broadly defined as you want to define it, with Mr. Macgyver has been given many, 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 many times, always consistent. So don't ask it again. Except on redirect if something comes up on cross. Mr. Roberts?
Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon, Ms. Anderson.
Good afternoon.
It would probably be a fair statement to just start this whole examination out with just the fact that this is probably a tough day for you, correct?
Absolutely.
You and I have had a chance to meet before, correct?
Yes.
You were kind enough to meet with me and another lawyer and an investigator at a restaurant, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we got a chance to talk for quite a while, actually.
A very long time.
Yeah. During that meeting, did anyone, myself or anyone on my team, did we ever threaten you in any way?
No, sir.
Promise you anything?
No, sir.
And fair to say you didn't feel intimidated while you were talking with us, correct?
I wouldn't say intimidated, but
Uncomfortable?
yes, because sometimes I would answer your question and it seemed like it was like you were persistent about some things that I didn't know anything about.
Okay.
That just made me uncomfortable, and I remember crying the entire 3.5 hours. So I was uncomfortable because I was crying because I'm just grieving has been a long process, and so I was very upset. But no, you didn't make me cry.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Because we were talking about your relationship with Diane Macgyver, right?
And Tex and Austin.
And about everything, right? Because I was asking you lots and lots of questions because I was trying to find out lots and lots of things from you, right?
Yes.
And one of the things you told me is that without question, Diane Macgyver treated you good.
Yes.
In fact, she paid you well.
She paid my normal rate.
Okay. You know, she was a good client in that she always kept her appointments, and if she didn't, she'd let you know ahead of time.
Yes.
In fact, she would from time to time refer other people to you, give you other business, correct?
Not for massage. She hired me as a baby gift to a close friend to deliver her baby at Northside as a doula.
Okay. And in fact, she had you do some stuff for Austin, but you've told us you didn't charge her for that.
No.
And she would have you do stuff for Richard Harrell, who worked at Corey, correct?
On occasion as a gift.
Right. Now, I think I understand your fees are $100 an hour.
Yes.
And so, is that $100 for Diane Macgyver to get a massage for an hour? And is it an additional $100 for Tex McIver to get a massage? Help me understand how that $100 that fee works.
So the sessions were always they were always an hour and a half. So it would be an hour and a half each, which would equate to 3 hours per night, normally 4 weeks out of the month, which is how you get the $1,200 a month.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you told us about is that Diane treated you good. Let me ask you this. Did you tell me that Diane even took you on a trip?
Well, I paid my own airfare. She asked me to go on a trip to Africa. Is that the one you're speaking of?
Yes, ma'am. That's the one we discussed about, right?
Yes. So
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I'm very close with Tex McIver's mom, and she was 88 years old and given a trip of a lifetime, and Diane asked if I would come and kind of escort her and watch her at night and stay in the same hotel and bedroom with her and make sure that she was great. And we met Tex's sister and some other people in Africa, and I basically acted as a friend and caretaker to Winnie McGyver.
And Diane, how long did y'all stay in Africa?
2 weeks almost.
And what part of Africa did you visit?
Cape Town, and then some surrounding other areas of the wine country.
And your expenses for that 2-week trip, with the exception of the airfare, was covered by Diane Macgyver?
Not necessarily, just my hotel room. I mean, they might have paid for some dinners, and then as a thank you to them for allowing me to be a part of their trip, I paid for a chef's dinner in the Mount Nelson chef's kitchen. It's a table in a kitchen where the chef cooks for you, and then we all sat there together.
Okay.
It was Christmas and New Year's, so it was a very special time of year.
Okay. Now, can you share with the jurors a little bit about the way Diane Macgyver was about appointments with you?
Extremely responsible.
And what do you mean by extremely responsible?
She was very dedicated to her wellness and her exercise regimens, and she was also extremely respectful of other people's time.
Okay. And were there occasions when Diane Macgyver would have to cancel her appointments with you?
Sometimes.
And would she give you prior advance notice?
Yes.
Always, you'd say?
Yes.
Can you ever think of a time when she just didn't show up for an appointment?
Never.
And you have been performing massage therapy and wellness on Diane Macgyver for how long by the time we get to her date of death?
So a year and a half minus, so I don't know, about 12 or so years.
Okay. Now, I think that you provided to the defense attorneys, this is defense exhibit number 19. You were kind enough to share with the defense attorneys these snapshots of text messages, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to talk to you about one of them. Okay. This is a text message. The date at the top is September the 25th, 2016 at 9:36 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And this, in the blue, is that what you sent to Diane Macgyver?
Yes.
And so around 9:36, you said, "Hey, Mama Di, I hope you have an awesome weekend and wanted to confirm you for tomorrow morning around 7:30, love, Annie."
Yes.
Because you had previously scheduled a massage appointment with Diane Macgyver for Monday morning at 7:30.
A Pilates session.
I'm sorry, a Pilates session. And she responded to you and she said, "Absolutely."
Yes.
Now, in talking to the defendant, did you know at about 9:36 p.m., Diane Macgyver was, do you know where she was?
No.
In your conversations with the defendant, you never learned that they stopped at Longhorn and then kind of headed downtown a little bit after 9?
I'm sorry. I never learned what?
That the defendant and Diane and Danny Joe stopped at Longhorn.
No, I knew that because Danny Jo had told me when she told me what happened.
Okay. Okay. But this text message that you received back from Diane Macgyver, that came from, you can say that came from her phone, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so at 9:36, based on this text message, Diane Macgyver had her phone, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if she left the restaurant a little bit after 9, at 9:36, she would have been in the vehicle, correct?
I assume so.
And when she responded to you absolutely, in your mind, did you take that as a confirmation that she was going to be at her 7:30 appointment on Monday morning?
Yes.
Now, when you had conversations with the defendant, did he ever tell you that he asked a young man by the name of Tanner McKinley to take Danny Jo home on Sunday afternoon?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. Did the defendant ever tell you that, hey, listen, I was trying to get rid of Danny Jo on Sunday because I wanted to spend the night at the ranch with my wife and have some alone time. Did he ever tell you that?
No, Tex and I did not discuss that.
And there are no earlier text messages in which Diane Macgyver canceled or talked about canceling this Monday morning appointment at 7:30, right?
Correct.
Now, you are familiar with the ranch. You've been down there a few times.
A lot.
A lot. What would you call a lot?
Well, like I said, since I got married, I haven't been there as much, but prior to that, it was like a second home.
Okay. Would it be fair to say more than 25 times?
Yes.
Could we go as high as 50 times?
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you this. In your visits down to the ranch, do you know that there is a Publix grocery store located not far from the ranch?
Yes.
You've actually been to the store?
Yes.
Did the defendant tell you that on Saturday, the day before this, on the 24th, that Danny Joe and Diane went to the grocery store? Did he tell you that?
No.
Have you ever been to that grocery store yourself?
Yes, many times.
Many times. When you go to that grocery store and you purchase things, do they give you little brown plastic bags to put the food in?
Yes.
Bags that look like this?
Yes.
That say Publix on the outside of them?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen the defendant fire guns while you were down at the ranch?
On rare occasions, not often.
Okay. Whenever you have seen him fire guns at the ranch on rare occasions, did you ever see him shoot a gun on the inside of a plastic bag that looked like this?
No.
Okay. Let me just ask you this. Prior to your testimony here this afternoon, have you watched any of the trial since it started?
A little bit here and there.
Okay. And if you wouldn't mind, would you share with us what you've seen?
Some of the news and some of the news that it has connected to, like the video of the courtroom. I've seen some of that.
Okay. So the video of the courtroom, so you've had the opportunity to see some of the witnesses who's testified?
Part of their witness, yeah.
And could you just tell us, like, who have you seen?
A little bit of Danny Joe, a little bit of Terry.
Terry Brown?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit of a gentleman from Fisher and Phillips, the accounting guy.
Okay.
And that's all I remember at the moment.
Okay. And you've also seen some news reports?
Yeah, on either the radio in the morning or the evening news, depending where I was.
Okay. As you sit here today, do you remember anything that you may have heard on the radio or seen on the news about the case? Can you just tell us what you remember seeing or hearing?
I think that would be hearsay, Your Honor, but it's a question if we don't know what we're going to end up hearing here.
And that's fine. He's right. He's right. I'll just move on. Let me ask you this. When did you find out that you were going to be coming to court to testify?
Well, when you subpoenaed me, I thought there was a possibility, and based on the people in your office, they said that they definitely intended on calling me, so I've been waiting for that.
And did we subpoena you before the trial started? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly what day.
Okay. And when were you contacted by the defense attorneys and told that you would be testifying here in court?
Last week.
Last week. Okay. And
Well, that they didn't know for sure.
okay. And can you tell the jurors and the judge, since last week, have you watched any parts of the trial?
No,
Okay. Have you listened to anything on the radio about the case?
no,
Okay. So since last week, you have not had any media exposure at all?
not really. I mean, if it was anything, it was just like 1 second and I didn't know it was coming on. I was in the car.
Okay. But I take it from some attempted questions from Mr. Samuel, have people been telling you about what has been going on during the trial?
Some of the families that I work with have been more than disturbed about some of the things that have been said about me personally.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Okay. And I'm not going to ask you what they told you,
Your
but
Honor, he already has. He already has. And just fair warning, he's opened that door.
the door's not open, Judge.
That door is wide open now because he asked a question and intentionally elicited that testimony.
We'll see how far it's open when you start asking me direct questions.
Can you tell the jurors, one, on the night, Monday night, when you found out that Diane Macgyver had been shot and killed, did you spend the majority of that night in the same bedroom with the defendant?
Mostly.
Okay?
Carrie wasn't sleeping great on the floor because of the really loud CPAP machine, so her and I were kind of kept up, you know, just by I can't even tell you, the sound is very loud.
It's very loud.
Yeah.
Okay?
So we would talk or go back and forth or
Okay.
yes.
All right. And two, when we met at the restaurant, did you tell me that during that night you actually, I think the way you referred to it when I reviewed the transcript is you called it a polarity rap. You performed a polarity rap on the defendant.
No, sir. It's a polarity rocking motion. It's not a rap. So it's a rocking motion that you literally jostle someone's body by pushing on a joint that opens up the nervous system and the spinal cord.
Okay. And when we talked in the restaurant and you told me that, you kind of actually with your hands, you kind of showed me kind of what you did, correct?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors, why did you do that to the defendant?
Because he was having a nightmare and he was throwing his arms up in the air. I was afraid he was either going to hit the lamp next to him or something else. I don't know, but his arms were flailing around and he was having nightmares.
Okay.
So I was trying to calm him down.
Okay. And let me ask you this. The movements that you saw him making, did you see him make any movements like simulate like he was pulling the trigger on a gun or anything like that? Did you see any movements like that?
Well, he, in his massages, even prior to the whole event, when he would lay face down on the table, he would drape his arms off the side and he would hold his hands because he always had a lot of tension. Like you can't bend his finger back. It's stuck. He has like some muscle issues in his palm. If I try to massage it, he's like, oh, and he makes all these grunting noises because it's very painful. And so when he throws his arms up, his hands always kind of have a curled motion to their muscle.
His arms are kind of curled.
Not his arms, his hands.
His hands are curled.
You'll see like in him in pictures, he always, they actually call it an anatomically kind of a trigger finger. His index, middle, and thumb always kind of curl. So he'll tend to hook them on his pocket or his belt loop to rest them because they're tight.
Okay. And so my question to you is, like that night when you saw him flailing his arms, did you see him with his hands, like move his finger like that, his trigger finger, making motions like he was pulling the trigger of a gun? Did you see that?
No, it was dark. I can't say that he was or wasn't, but
Okay.
I didn't see anything specific like that.
Right. And when you were down at the ranch, you knew him to have like lots and lots of guns, right?
They were kept in a safe. They really weren't out in the part of the ranch where I was.
Okay. And so you've only seen him shoot a few times.
Yes, when he would get ready to go hunting, he would sometimes go out and practice, but a lot of the times, most of the time I spent there was when Austin was very young.
Okay.
And we didn't go out there to shoot very often.
Okay. But when you did see him shoot, he would use that same finger, correct?
Yes, sir.
You knew him to be right-handed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have this little mannequin right here. And you think that you could perhaps show the jurors kind of what you would consider the movements you would make when you do a polarity rock?
Sure.
Okay.
It'll have to be laying down.
Laying down.
You
Can I
use
just lay it right
mine.
there?
You sure can.
Okay. You tell me how you want me to position it.
It has to be face up.
Face up. Is that good enough, or can we make it work, or?
Sure.
Okay. Show us what. And that night when you performed the polarity rock on Mr. Macgyver, was he face up?
Yes, he was always face up.
Always face up. Okay, let me get out the way. Okay, now if you could just show the jurors what the polarity rock looks like.
So just,
Polarity, I'm sorry.
just to explain something, if a body is flat, it's going to move differently. Like I said, his knees and feet were up almost at like a 90-degree level, and then his head was inclined because, well, his shoulders, like his mid-back and up, so he was kind of in a little bit of a folded position because of his pressure and sinus pressure and everything from all the crime. So he would be more in a V, and so he's not going to rock. This is going to rock more than he would. So you might go over to either like a shoulder or a hip, and you just press it, and then the body bounces itself and
You guys
creates
see?
a
Okay,
jostling motion.
okay.
I'll do it from the other side.
Thank you.
Sorry. So if someone is having a bad dream, or even if someone's doing this on my tape, is that okay to do?
It is okay.
Okay, so if someone on my table is having a nightmare or anything like that, I would also do this to them during a treatment, just to recalm their nervous system. So it's a tap, and then the jostling, like if this was my client, I would say she has a lot of restriction in her left leg because it won't jostle, because only the mobile points of the body are moving. So you watch, it shows you where your problem areas are if it's restricted and it doesn't jostle.
Okay.
And so that
And
was it.
so that's what you did to the defendant that night?
Yes.
Okay. And did you do it one time, or did it occur more than one time during the course of the night?
Well, I remember doing it one time. I remember taking the cold pack and getting, it cold again, and just to help with the swelling and all of that.
Okay.
And he got up once to go to the bathroom.
Okay. All right. Now,
Thank you.
And then just move the microphone back for a place that's comfortable for you.
Is that your first polarity rock in a courtroom?
It is. We've benefited from that
My-
body thing for a while, but the first polarity rock.
My family will be happy to know I'm still not boring, so.
this is State's Exhibit 409. You recognize that photograph?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and how do you recognize it?
It's Tex and Diane's bedroom at 1501 Condo.
And is this the room that you would have been in on the night of Monday, September the 26th?
Yes.
Okay. And when you performed the polarity rock, there was no one else in the room except you and the defendant, correct?
On Monday night,
Yes. Okay. And can you show for the jurors, I think if you touch that screen pretty hard, which side of the bed is the side that the defendant sleeps on, and then, you know, by common sense, we can figure out what side of the bed
Is it gonna write when I touch it? Will it draw
Yes,
like,
it'll,
okay,
yeah, if you touch it real hard, it'll make a mark.
okay. So where Tex slept is the first one?
Yes, where the polarity rocking.
Sorry,
That's
not
okay.
in the middle, I just meant the edge.
Okay, on that side of the bed, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, we have heard through some of your testimony that Dr. Hoos came over and he gave some medication to Rachel Stiles. Is that correct?
Yes.
But it wasn't in a regular prescription bottle?
I don't know exactly what bottle she got it in, but when she gave it to me to distribute to him if necessary overnight, if he started having another anxiety attack, she gave me a small amount of what I would need in an envelope.
Okay. What did you understand those pills to be?
Anti-anxiety medication and an option of a sleep aid. He didn't like taking Ambien because it made him very loopy, so I had brought him some herbal deep sleep like a long time ago, not that day, because he wasn't able to function if he took Ambien on a regular basis. So it's an herbal supplement that you take about an hour before you go to bed, and it just helps you to sleep through the night because he had a hard time doing that.
Okay. That supplement, that's not a narcotic, is it?
No.
No. Did you give it to him that night?
I don't remember giving it to him. I don't know if he took it in the kitchen where they kept the supplements. I couldn't say for sure.
Okay.
But I believe he did.
Okay. And so is your testimony that on Monday night the defendant actually took one of those anti-anxiety pills?
I do not know that he took one of those because I did not give him one. Rachel had administered his medication as far into the night as she could before she went to bed. She was thoroughly medicating him or doing whatever she needed to do. I don't know what she did or didn't give him.
Okay, and I guess that was my question because you said medicate, but the truth is you never saw Rachel give him anything, right?
No, she gave him medication that night, but I just don't know exactly what it was or how much.
Okay. And you believe it to be the medication that Dr. Hoos
Yes.
brought? Okay.
Well, I don't know if he brought it or if it was left over from the hospital where he had had his anxiety attack. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. And so, do you remember telling me when we met at the restaurant, Dr. Hoos said, let's not give him, that's going to make him loopy.
Yes, the Ambien. He said unless he needed it.
Okay. So when you told that to me when we met at the restaurant, you were talking about Ambien.
Yes.
Okay. But your testimony today is that you know him to have taken that anti-anxiety medicine on Monday night.
I don't know that for sure because I did not give him any anti-anxiety medication.
Okay. So on Tuesday, and let me ask you this, did you remain in the bedroom with Mr. Macgyver until the next morning, watching him?
On Monday night?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. And Tuesday, did you see him when he left the 1501 condo and went over to Janie Calhoun's condo? Did you see him when he left?
I don't really remember when he left. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of people. I know he went to her condo at some point, but I don't know when it was. If it was Tuesday, Wednesday. I just know when Austin got there. I know when my family got there. I know when Jim Hickey got there to spend the night.
Okay. And these little beanbag things that you put on his eyes that have flaxseed in them,
Yes.
do they look like beanbag things you put on your eyes?
Looks like an eye pillow, but it's weighted with, yes.
Right. And I think what you told Mr. Samuel is that you did not give him a massage at all in the condo that week. Is that what you told Mr. Samuel?
Well, the polarity rocking, or maybe some sinus massage, if, because his sinuses were all clogged.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't give him any type of traditional massage. There was no massage table, there was no massage lotion, there was no unclothing. It was, here and there I may have done some pressure points on his forehead or something like that, but it wasn't like in the sense of what you would think of. The massages I had given them, it was nothing. Like, I was breathing. Honestly, I wasn't capable of giving someone a massage. It was a very difficult week, and it still is. So.
Yeah. Okay. So on Tuesday, let me strike that. Let me ask you a better question. On Tuesday, did you have Mr. McIver lay down in this bed, in this bedroom, and put the eye mask on his eyes, the bean bags?
Yes.
Okay. And you saw Danny Joe in the condominium on Tuesday also, didn't you?
I don't know if it was Tuesday. I'm sorry, the days really...
I understand. Now, on Wednesday, you drove the defendant home from the Atlanta Police Department.
I'm sorry, on Wednesday?
I'm sorry, Wednesday. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, were you sitting with him while he was waiting to go into his interview?
Well, there was a large room that Darren Smith had asked Tex and his attorneys and I to sit in, and then a few minutes later they came and got Tex and his attorneys and took him into the interview room, I suppose it was, and I stayed in that room.
Do you recall that the attorneys actually came into the room first and left you and Tex by yourselves?
No.
You don't remember that?
No.
Okay. And so you don't recall at any time being alone with the defendant before he gave his statement to the police?
No.
Okay. And how about after he gave his statement to the police and he left the room? Do you remember being alone with him there in that waiting room at the police department?
No.
On Tuesday night, when you stayed at the condo, did you continue to watch the defendant?
All the time?
All the time. And so Tuesday night, fair to say, same situation, you stayed and watched him while he was in the bedroom?
Well, Austin had come, and Austin slept in the bed next to Tex, and he said, Annie, are we going to say prayers? And I said yes, and his prayers last forever because he names every person and every cow and every horse.
Right.
And then he said, Annie, can I have a back rub and will you squeeze my feet? And I said, of course, buddy boy. And he, kind of laid there, and then as I was squeezing his feet, he said, where are you going to sleep? And I said, I'm not going to sleep, but I'm going to make sure you and Dee Dee, which is what I call Tex, are okay, and I'm going to sit right here on this side of the bed on the floor on these pillows. And he looked, and he said, okay, thank you. And then I rubbed his back, and he fell asleep.
Austin's a good kid, isn't he?
Amazing.
So you stayed in the bedroom that Tuesday night, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How about Wednesday night?
Yes, and Austin was there as well. Again.
Okay. And Thursday, you said that your family came.
Yes, my husband and daughter.
Right. And on Friday, when you left to go to the ranch with the defendant, did your family go also?
No, my daughter plays year-round volleyball, and she had a volleyball tournament, so my husband took care of her so that I could go and help Tex.
Okay. And so you actually went down to the ranch on Friday, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how did you travel down to the ranch?
We drove.
And what vehicle did you drive in?
I believe it was Diane's car, but I can't be sure.
Jaguar.
Yes, sir.
You drove her car down to the ranch with her.
Yes, I didn't have my car because Carrie had driven me.
Okay. Was there an opportunity for you to get your car at all during that week?
No, sir.
Now, you were actually driving the Jaguar, not the defendant.
Yes.
Okay. And when you got down to the ranch on Friday, did you stay down there Friday night?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, did you stay in the guest house in the saloon that night?
No.
And so what part of the ranch were you occupied in?
I was sitting on the couch that is in the master bedroom watching over him.
And the weather was pretty nice on Saturday when you woke up, correct?
Yes.
And so your testimony is that you walked the fence.
My testimony? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
earlier when you were talking to Mr. Samuel, I thought you said that, was it Saturday when you walked the fence?
I didn't say when I walked the fence. He said, that, do you do this thing walking in the pastures?
Okay. Let me ask you this. What day did you do that?
Did I walk the fence?
Or walk in the pasture?
Well, every day we had some sick cows that had a disease that couldn't swallow or drink. And so we were paying some extra attention to the calves. They're not even cows, they're calves.
Okay. Was that on Friday?
It was all the days that we were there, we were watching over some of those sick cows and
Okay.
just going out, just happy to be at the ranch, a peaceful place after a hard week.
Right. And the defendant didn't have any problems functioning out at the ranch, did he?
He was very upset.
Was he under medication when he was handling the calves?
He wasn't handling the calves, we were just looking at them. There wasn't anything you could do for them.
Okay. When he was looking at the calves, was he taking his medication then?
I can't remember if we were still giving him the anxiety medication or not. I'm sorry, it's been a long time.
Right. Because Rachel was the one that was supposed to give him the medication, right? Because she's a nurse.
Right, when she was there, she
Right.
would do that.
Because she only stayed like a day or so, right?
No, she spent a few nights.
A few nights. Did she go to the ranch?
No,
Okay. So if she didn't go to the ranch, she wouldn't have been there to administer him any medication, right?
correct.
Okay. So if he wasn't under any medication on Friday, why couldn't he drive himself to the ranch?
I don't know that he wasn't on medication on Friday because he could have taken it on Friday morning.
Well, was Rachel there Friday morning?
No, but he was allowed to take his medication on his own.
Oh, I thought you told me that your purpose was to watch him because y'all didn't know what he was going to do.
But
So you're saying by Friday it was okay for him to take whatever kind of medication he wanted to?
I don't know. I'm sorry. What are you asking me? You just kind of...
Okay. I'm sorry, my question is confusing. Was Rachel at the condominium on Friday morning before you left to go to the ranch?
Honestly, I don't remember because she came back every day almost that week and was at the condo like all the other grieving people.
Okay. But didn't you tell me when I talked to you in the restaurant that day that really you didn't want Rachel to come back to the condo because she was sick and you were concerned that she would kind of get everybody else in the condo sick? You remember telling me that?
Well, just being there for a long period of time, but I didn't have a problem if Rachel came back to the condo to do whatever her responsibility or, you know.
I understand.
No.
But did you tell me at the restaurant that you didn't want Rachel at the condo because she was sick. And you were concerned about everybody else getting sick.
Yes, I was concerned about other people being sick, but wasn't that I had a choice in whether or not she was at the condo.
Okay. And so you didn't see him take any medication on Friday before you all left to go to the ranch, right?
I do not remember.
Okay, you don't remember. All right. Did you see him take any medication on Saturday at the ranch?
I don't remember when he
Okay.
took medication.
Okay. So it's fair to say he didn't take anything on Friday then, right?
That's
No, that's
possible.
not what, he asks a question, he gets an answer, and then he asks another question that postulates a different answer.
She said she didn't remember, so
You can't,
that's the answer you got.
I understand.
Okay.
Mr. Sam, you got, it's okay. I understand. Let me ask you this. On what day did you have on the rubber boots and you were walking around the ranch? The ones you talked to us about before.
I don't remember which day. I probably wore them all of the days since we were going out into the pastures.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which day I did or didn't because they're, Austin and his mom and his brother and her fiance, they all came out and stayed the weekend. There was a lot of people there. It wasn't like it was just me and the cows.
Mm-hmm. And so let me ask you this. Do you remember when Jay Grover came out to the ranch?
I do.
Okay. What day was that?
I believe it was, I don't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday.
Okay. And the boots that you told us about, the rubber boots that you wear them because you get all kind of stuff on your feet when you're walking through the pasture, right?
Yes.
Mud, right?
Yes.
Grass, right?
Manure, yes.
Manure. And so it's fair to say that you don't wear those boots like around the house, right?
If they're clean,
Or you wear them around the house if they're clean.
yes.
Okay. So when you saw Jay Grover come down to the ranch, did you have on some rubber boots?
I don't remember.
You don't remember.
I remember him and another gentleman coming to the ranch, and I don't remember what I was wearing or anything like that. Just not a recollection that I have specifically.
Okay. Describe the rubber boots that you have down there at the ranch.
They are like a cream color, and they have like a pattern on them. I can't even remember if it's like a leopard pattern or a flowered pattern, but it has like all these same colors on it. Or same objects, I'm sorry, not colors.
So can you tell the jurors you don't remember wearing some like real decorative boots that kind of like had like a little Western flair to them that Diane had gotten from Jay Grover?
No, sir.
And so as you sit here today, you deny wearing Diane's boots at the ranch.
1,000%. I'm a 10 and a half. She's a 7 and a half.
Would it surprise you to know that that's actually not her shoe size?
objection to that, and that's an improper question.
Well, it can vary by...
Don't answer it.
I'm sorry.
You're not allowed to ask a question. It doesn't surprise you as if he knows the truth of anything. And I can say, would it surprise you to know, anything?
If you don't think that we should do that, don't do it either.
I'm illustrating myself.
Okay, yes. All right, you're good at illustrating. If you want to,
Rephrase?
that would be good.
Okay.
If you have a good faith basis for whatever you're going to explore with Ms. Anderson.
Let me ask it this way. Are you 1,000% sure that she wears a 7.5?
Well, a shoe size can vary by a half to a full size depending on the narrowness of it. And Diane had very narrow feet, and I do not. So I don't know how her shoe size varied, but I would imagine it's anywhere from a 7.5 to a half a size up or down depending on the size of the shoe.
Are you just guessing about that? Because my question to you was, are you 1,000% sure that she wears a 7.5?
No.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Was there a period in time, well, strike that. Let me ask you this question. On Saturday night, who spent the night at the ranch?
Anne, Greg, Austin, and little Craig,
Okay.
and myself.
How long did they stay?
What do you mean?
How long did they stay at the ranch? They spent the night Saturday night, they're there Sunday
Hey, I'm just
morning?
making sure you meant that.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm talking about the group. Did they stay all day Sunday?
Most of the day. Austin had to get back for football.
Okay, and so the group left, correct?
Yes.
And so at the ranch on Sunday, it's you and the defendant,
And Javier and his family and
okay? And Javier and his family, they live like a couple hundred yards really away on they have a whole separate address on the ranch, correct?
yes.
Right, they don't stay in the main house, correct?
No.
Or the saloon, correct?
No.
Right. So let me ask you this. While you were there that Sunday or even Monday, did you have a conversation with the defendant about the fact that you needed to go back to Atlanta because it didn't look good for you to be there with him?
No.
He never had that conversation with you?
You asked me if I had that conversation with him. I did not, and he did not have it with me. To answer both ways.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did you go back to Atlanta?
Yes.
When?
I believe it was at some point on Sunday
Did you go back with the defendant or did you go alone?
with the defendant.
Let me ask you this. Before you went back to Atlanta, did you see Sheriff Howard Sills?
Yes.
When did you see Sheriff Sills?
He asked me to bring Tex to his house for dinner, and I took Tex over there for dinner.
On Sunday.
I don't remember if it was Sunday or... I'm sorry, I don't remember which evening it was.
Well, Saturday evening, the Swalls were there, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't take him over to Howard Sills on Saturday evening, did you?
I don't think so.
Okay, and so
No, we
Sunday,
had dinner with Austin.
right, that's on Saturday.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm asking, did you take him over there on Sunday evening?
It must have been Sunday if it wasn't Friday. I'm not 100% sure. It's a little
Okay.
bit of a blurry week with
Okay,
days and
okay.
who was where.
Did you see Sheriff Sills have a conversation with the defendant in such a way that you couldn't hear what they were talking about?
In such a way that I
Yeah,
couldn't hear?
like if I stand over here and I have a conversation with Mr. Samuel, and you're sitting over there, you might not hear what I'm saying to Mr. Samuel.
Hard to believe.
So I'm trying to ask you, did you see him have a conversation with Sheriff Sills and you really couldn't hear what they were saying?
Well, there was a time where I was in the kitchen with Sheriff Sill's wife, and they were sitting on the porch veranda together, and I was not outside.
Okay.
But I was able to go outside and be out there. It wasn't like I had to go. We just went inside to take care of some things.
Okay. I just got a couple more. Can you tell the jurors, do you know the defendant's son, Robbie?
I know of him. I don't know him well.
Okay. Have you ever met him before?
I think once or twice briefly.
Okay. And you know he's married?
Yes.
Correct. You know his wife's name to be Leslie?
Yes.
Okay. And did the defendant ever have conversations with you about the fact that Robbie and Leslie were expecting to receive the ranch when he died?
No.
Have you been in Diane Macgyver's closet at the ranch?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Okay. And did the defendant give you some items that belong to her?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, when you've been in that closet at the ranch, did you ever see a safe?
In the closet at the
Yes.
ranch?
Mhm.
No.
How about anywhere in the ranch?
A gun safe in the room where the boots are?
Okay. How about in the condo?
No.
You didn't know that there was a safe in the condo?
I do not know that there's a safe. I've never seen a safe. I would assume that there's a safe
That's okay,
knowing
that's
that.
okay. If you've never seen it, and you've never had any conversation with the defendant about the safe, about a safe if it existed?
No.
Okay. I think you said that Diane loves her health and wellness, is that right?
Yes.
Have you ever seen her get upset as a defendant because he did not take his health and wellness as serious as she did?
I don't know that it was that he didn't take it serious, but he liked to eat his Cheez-Its, and it was a nighttime snack she was annoyed by.
And have you ever heard her kind of get on him because she thought he was a little punchy? You know what I mean?
About his belly?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. She would, wouldn't she?
Well, it was my job to make the belly go away.
Right. And Diane had a sharp tongue, didn't she?
I don't perceive Diane as a sharp person, but maybe it's because I'm in the middle of 13 children. I just
Right.
take things a little different than
Right.
normal people.
I get it. I get it. You say stuff, don't hurt your feelings, right?
Well, no, I just feel like she's a very passionate person, and if she loves you enough to tell you the truth, you know, she just loves you, that's all.
Okay. And that's what you're trying to communicate to the jury. She was the kind of person, she would tell you the truth, right?
Yeah.
Even if it hurt your feelings.
I don't know that she was saying it to hurt your feelings. She was trying to help, as we would say, help me help you.
I understand.
So.
I understand. Now, I think you told the jurors a little earlier you received in early September you said it was an advance. You wouldn't call it a loan, correct?
I'm sorry, an advance, and then what'd you say?
Of some monies. I think you said it was $1,200 per month, and so she advanced you $5,000, but it wasn't a loan, it was an advance.
Yes, she wanted me to do something in my life, and she wanted me to not have an excuse or a time difference on when I could have it done.
Okay. That's the kind of person she was, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me show you this exhibit. This is the second part of an exhibit, Judge, that was provisionally tendered earlier with another witness. I'll put it up for you in a second. It states 297, if you want to take a look at it. Let me let Samuel see it. Okay.
Looks like all three of them nodded at that.
Yes. On 297, Judge, what we did is I tendered the top portion of the document.
I'm seeing through Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
He was not in a position to comment in an evidentiarily acceptable way as to the bottom half.
That's correct.
Perhaps you now have a witness who can.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Take a look at states 297, and it's really just this bottom item. And take a look at that and see if you recognize and identify it.
Take a look at what exactly? You said the bottom?
The check.
Yes.
Okay, you recognize the check, right?
Yes.
Okay, and the check is made out to who?
Annie Anderson Enterprises, LLC.
That's you.
Yes.
Okay, and what's the date on the check?
9/7/2016.
Okay. And is that the check that Diane Macgyver gave to you as an advance and not a loan for something for you to do in your life?
Yes.
Okay, I would tender 297, Judge, in the evidence this time.
Okay, now we're trying to get all of 297 in. Any objections, Mr. Sam?
No.
It is now fully admitted.
Thank you, Judge.
Well,
So this check is from Diane Macgyver, correct?
Yes.
And the check is actually not for $5,000, it's for $6,000, isn't it?
Yes, because it was her night to pay me for my monthly service.
Right.
But
And-
it was
I'm
not,
sorry.
just so you know, it's the Pilates portion, which is different than the massage check. It was a different amount when I did Pilates, so that's why it's not a $6,200. it's the 1,000 for the Pilates.
Okay. Okay. And you knew Diane Macgyver to be a pretty, meticulous businesswoman, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And so you see where in the message portion of that check, she actually calls the $5,000 a loan, correct?
yes,
Not in advance, right?
yes.
I guess let me just ask you just one more question. Let me make sure I'm clear about one thing from earlier. This is defense exhibit number 11. I think you told us that you kept your boots in this room, correct?
Yes,
Your cowboy boots.
yes.
How about your rain boots?
The rubber
I'm
boots?
sorry, yeah, the rubber boots.
Yes.
Where are they in this picture?
I can't really make out the different patterns on the boots, so it would be one of the ones with the splotches, but I can't tell which pair is which. And then
Could you
my,
just maybe touch the screen so we can see it?
what, where the splotchy boots are?
With the ones that might be your boots. Okay. All right. So that weekend, you wouldn't be wearing any dark boots with a Western pattern on them, right?
No,
And is it possible that the day that you saw Jay Grover, and by the way, did he come down to the ranch alone or with someone else?
with another gentleman.
Right. And you know that they came down to have the defendant sign some papers, correct?
That's what they said.
Okay. And is it possible that they could have come down on Monday and not Sunday?
I think we left on Sunday, so I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a possibility that we were there on Monday, but I don't remember the exact day. It was all kind of a blurry week.
Okay. I believe that's all my questions, Judge. Thank you.
I think we're going to take our afternoon break. Let everyone recharge, decompress. I need to talk to the lawyers a little bit. Ms. Anderson, we need a break too. Been a lot for you to be talking about. So, jurors, you go back into the jury room. We'll get you back out here hopefully around 3:30. And we'll pick up with any redirect of Ms. Anderson and then see if you all have any questions. We'll talk about the case while you're back there. We'll get you back in here shortly. Thank you.
All rise for the jurors.
So, Ms. Anderson, you are free to step outside right now. Someone from the defense team will get you back in here in just about 10 minutes. Don't go too far. During the break, please don't talk about your testimony with anyone. You don't want to anyway, but don't talk about something else, and we'll get you back in here, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Daniel, as you prepare your redirect, if you're going to do any redirect, I want to be able to give you guidance on what seemed like a topic you wanted to explore, or tried to explore during your direct, and rather forcefully asserted to the jury that the door has been open now for you to explore it. Tell me what you believe has happened that would make testimony by Ms. Anderson about what she heard other people say they thought about the media coverage of this case not hearsay.
You want me to tell you what, can I take a step back? What Mr. Rucker elicited, knowing full well that you would limit me completely from the topic. What he elicited is, what did you hear from the news people? Right? What did you hear on the radio station? And then something about, I wish I had an instant transcript, but I
No,
don't.
you don't, but let me tell you what I remember. It began as an exploration of, hey, have you had any exposure to, not the facts of the case, you're a close friend with the defendant, but coverage of the case, because you potentially were going to be a witness in this case. Yeah, I watched some testimony, through the live feed, I watched some testimony, not being here in court, and I've had some encounters with the media coverage, just listen to a report or something. Then I recall Mr. Rucker asking if people had talked to her about the case, if people that she knew had come up to her and say, hey, I want to talk to you about the case. Not the substance of it, but had that in fact happened? Yes, and then there was a bunch of animation from both sides, and I was told the door was open. If you think it was more than that, let's talk about what you think it was.
I think it began, I think it began with Mr. Rucker probing the sequestration problem, 615 problem. Fair enough. Which, you know, I think there wasn't a 615 problem, at least from our side, because she was their witness and apparently hadn't been told not to watch anything.
They were clean on that front.
Okay. I'm just saying the evolution of the questioning. But then he went on and even prefaced the next question with, and you were about to discuss with Mr. Samuel, he actually mentioned me in the direct examination about things you learned from other people about what was on the news. And she responded appropriately to the question, responsibly to the question, that she'd heard some hurtful things from people, which was exactly what I wanted to elicit. Okay? So I'm barred from doing it, can't even touch the topic. And then he asked a question that clearly was going to elicit it, not only because he should have known, but because he knew that's what I was trying to elicit. So now he's been permitted to elicit the testimony, just a tidbit, just a little toe in the water. And it sounds to me like you're about to say, you can't go any further. That you're inclined to say, he didn't do anything wrong by just putting his toe in the water intentionally, and I can't go beyond that. And you always accuse me of being animated. I don't know if that's an insult or not, but almost every time you talk about me arguing, you talk about being animated. But
I'm just, it's present sense impression.
okay, well, okay. So it is nobody who could sat through this trial for the last 6 weeks could reach any conclusion other than the fact that the prosecution was not just trying to find out through a bunch of witnesses, Jake Grover and Danny Joe Carter and whoever else, that, oh, maybe he was having a massage. They didn't care about that. That wasn't the point of asking those questions. And even here on cross, you really were doing a massage, weren't you? We didn't suggest anything other than that. We were just eliciting facts. That's all we do. That's what the prosecution does. We just look for the truth. We were just establishing. That's not what was going on. You know, what they were trying to do, unmistakably, over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I give you other instances to show kind of circumstantially to support what I'm saying. Oh, Danny Joe had a shirt that wasn't tucked in the back, right? And they wanted to put in evidence that he was excluded by you, but it shows the prosecution's state of mind. That Danny Joe's shirt wasn't tucked in, and then they were going to elicit testimony that Tex Google or something, goggle eye or whatever it is, goggle, you know, and then the Janie Calhoun comment they needed to get into evidence, and then they start with all this business with the masseuse, and you know, we can look at a record. Now I'm sure someday some court will look at a record and say, all they said was he getting a massage face up in the bedroom? That's all they asked. But that's not what was going on in this trial. What was going on was a clear effort by the prosecution to claim, and to try to convince this jury that they were having sex, and that's why he killed his wife. That's one of the reasons that they're trying to put that in evidence, that he wasn't deeply in love, and he was, you know, killed his wife so he could get with the masseuse. And I have a right to probe that, and probe it in an animated way, if you will. And I have a right to show what effect that had on her, and what effect it had on her when the prosecution, you know, did those kinds of implications to explain her demeanor here, to explain any perceived bias by her, and to frankly just to expose what the prosecution's been doing here.
Okay, so back to my question. How would it not be hearsay if you were to say, what did your neighbor Jane Doe say to you about her feelings of the coverage?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say what did your neighbor say about the coverage. What she is prepared to say is, I've lost business, it has upset my daughter, it has upset my husband, it is affecting me personally, people thinking that I'm having sex with customers, it is affecting me, my family, my relationship to my child, who is hearing about it at school, and the professionally and personally, there was a triumvirate there. I can't remember what the third one was. There was a third one. Frankly, it is my hope that we can stop the prosecution from that kind of argument, in closing argument, where they're going to say, well, you shouldn't believe her. You shouldn't believe her. They were having sex.
So, preview for me then the kinds of questions that you would ask Ms. Anderson.
What's the impact been on you?
Okay.
Don't even have to ask. Don't even have to ask what people said to you. Based on what other people have been reading in the papers or seeing on TV, what impact has it had on you and your family? What the prosecution's been doing in this case relating to you.
And how is that relevant to what the jury needs to work through, as opposed to getting the jury angry at the prosecution? The prosecution's not on trial here. So I'm just trying to work through, I'm not disagreeing with any of what you're describing. Sounds like something bad happened, Ms. Anderson. An issue in this case has become your client's character. I don't know, apart from indicting the defendant, I don't know the way the case has played out, that the state made the first move to put your client's character at issue. We've had this conversation before. Darling, Southern gentleman, perfect gentleman, never a cross word, amazing father figure, godly parent, great guy, great all-around guy. You have made your client's character an issue, something you want to argue. It started with the opening. There's nothing wrong with that, but actions, choices have consequences.
Sure, and if the prosecution will stick with the honest truth, it's fine. But when they start making implications that are false, to convince this jury, had we not called Annie Anderson to the stand, had we not called her to the stand, I guarantee 12 out of 12 jurors would have thought he's having sexual masseuse.
Well, we have a conflict in the testimony. You're claiming things are false, and we have had people under oath say, I walked in and he had his shirt off and he was getting a massage from Annie Anderson. We've had someone say, I walked in, she was wearing the boots I bought Diane Macgyver. Now, you can choose to disagree with that, and you or Mr. Harvey can argue it in closing. I don't get to make that call to say, well, I believe Ms. Anderson, and I don't believe these other people. That was testimony given under oath, and it ought to, at this point, be given credit. And the state is free to draw inferences from that. If there are inferences that are hurtful to Ms. Anderson, that's unfortunate for Ms. Anderson, but for you to be able to get the jurors riled up at the state because they're drawing inferences from what's in evidence, I don't know that that's proper, but I don't mean to unduly curtail your redirect. But I'm trying to understand what the relevance is to what the jury needs to decide. Did Mr. Macgyver intentionally, take influencing witnesses off the table right now, intentionally kill his wife?
And they have to decide, do we believe Annie Anderson? As you just said, one of the things they're going to decide is she lying? Right? That's what you just posed to me.
Sure.
Is she lying when she said she never had sex with him? They are free to argue that if they want to. That's a fair inference. You're suggesting that they can get up in closing argument. Mr. Rucker's shaking his head, and he's being very animated now. Would you note that for the record? That they would never possibly do that. If they'll stand up and stipulate to this jury, we've never contended and will not contend that they ever had sex, it's a dead issue. But they're not going to do that.
I don't know what they're going to do, but you know well, more experienced at this than I, that the discretion that both sides have to draw inferences in closing argument is pretty broad. It can't be based on nothing, but you were acknowledging, as I think you ought to, that there was testimony from a witness that Mr. Macgyver was observed with at least his shirt off and Ms. Anderson giving him a massage after Ms. Macgyver passed. Ms. Anderson has said something to the contrary. If it's relevant to anything in the case, I don't know. The jury will have to resolve that conflict. Same with the boots. So,
all I can do is ask for a ruling. I can't go into it. I can't go into it. I told you what I'm going to listen. It's not the hearsay of what the press reported.
that helps me understand
I
better.
think the press reported accurately what's happening here.
reported lots of things about what it thinks would get people to read.
That's right. And the impact on her relates to her credibility. And her credibility, you agree, sounds to me, is an issue in the case. Because she denies having sex, and the prosecution is fair to argue she's a liar. They were having sex every day at the ranch, they're having sex in the bedroom at night. You're saying that's a fair inference? I mean, she's a liar.
You say those things. I didn't say that. I said they could. I've said that it is not a factless inference to say that it's confusing what's going on in this situation immediately after Ms. Macgyver's death. Now, if the state wants to go out on a limb and say that's proof that there had been a torrid affair for 100 years, I don't know how credible the jury would find that to be. Not my call to make. That would be the state's call. And that might discredit other things they ask the jury to stretch towards, like the existence of a second will. I don't make those decisions. But you can't wish away the fact that there is testimony out there upon which one could construct an inferential argument that it's peculiar that these things allegedly happened, the things that were testified to, not by Ms. Anderson. And I'm just not following how Ms. Anderson being upset about what the media says this case has been about has to do with her credibility.
It's not upset with the media. She's upset with the implications that the prosecution has sought to make.
No, I get to ask. But what does that have to do with her credibility? That's
Because she's now a witness, and the impact that this has had on her life affects her credibility. Just like if, any witness who gets on the stand, how does it affect you that, you've lost all your income? How does it affect you that your spouse is dead? You always are able to ask that to witnesses to show their state of mind when they're witnesses. It is probative of her state of mind and why she's testifying, why she's emotional about certain things, why she's adamant saying things like 1,000%. Maybe a little ridicule of that. Why are you saying 1,000%? It's because this has had such a dramatic impact on her life. Not just the death of Diane, but the false kind of, I keep wanting to say inferences. They're making the implications. The inferences are being drawn by the readers, the listeners.
Or the media. All right, Mr. Rucker, what do you have to say in response to this topic?
Well, I concur with the court. I don't think that, I don't think the door has been opened. The question that I asked was a long line of questions about her exposure to the media. It was never to probe her state of mind about what the media reports, what their interpretations are about the evidence, has affected her. I didn't even know any of that. I didn't become aware that there were implications to her life until I heard the preface of the question from Mr. Samuel. And so the reason why I prefaced my question that way was just to say, in connection with watching the live stream, in connection with listening to the radio broadcast or seeing reports on the AJC, I take from the preface of his question, people have been telling you about what's been going on during the trial. And quite frankly, her answer was non-responsive to my question, because she then said yes, but then went on to say yes, and they told me, and it's very hurtful, and so forth and so on. I didn't know that. Mr. Samuel never told me that before he called her as a witness. He never told me that. I would have no way to know that. And so certainly that's not what I was trying to elicit. And so that's why I cut the questioning off at that point, because I didn't
cut off for you.
The opening the door and you are animated, by the way.
And what do you mean by that?
Present sense impression. And I agree with the court. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. The jury could take that her emotional state during her testimony is due solely to the fact of the first question I asked her when I started my examination, which is, hey, this is kind of tough for you. You lost somebody who you really, really cared about, and you've got, someone that you also really care about on trial. So I know that's tough. So they can infer that. And to be quite frank with you, there is no direct evidence that she had sex with anybody. And so the court is absolutely right. I would lose all credibility if I stood up in front of this jury in the closing argument and said, oh, the evidence has shown this torrid love affair between, and I'm not going to do that. That's not the evidence in the case. And so, the facts that have come out are that, listen, the Southern gentleman, the guy, darling, my soulmate, that's been a steady stream of cross-examination that I have done with Mr. Smith this morning with respect to how Mr. Macgyver decided to handle his wife's personal effects. And it is because the defense has put his character at issue. And so when those witnesses testified about what they saw the defendant doing and the behavior he exhibited in the days after his wife's death, I think is fair game. It's fair game. And to the extent that I can make inferences and argue that perhaps you ought not believe this defense theory that he could never do this because she was his darling. In fact, I think what Ms. Clark-Palmer said in her opening statement, the reason why he is not guilty is because he loved his wife. That's what she said. Well, if you love your wife so much, why are you getting a massage on the bed that you slept in every night with her for 10 years with your shirt off from somebody who is just your massage, your masseuse? When you should be breathing. I get to make that argument. Why do you, so, I can go on and on. And in the opening statement, we never made a claim that there was a sexual relationship between Annie Anderson and the defendant. We never said that. That is not the theory of the case, and it's not the motive that we have pursued in this case. So I would ask the court to not allow Mr. Samuel to go down that road.
All right. I need to give you guys a break as well. I'll be back at 3:45. Let you know what I'm going to do with that little piece. I trust you have other aspects to your redirect. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be a super short redirect. But I do need to give the court reporter a break as well. I'll see you in about 5 minutes.